Normally, I was taken for Russian, but when my friends found out that I was Jewish, they beat me one day and broke my nose.
Before, anti-Semitism was a passive thing. Today, it is active. Before, it was only a danger to your career. Today, it is a danger to your life.
And in this fire, my 33-year-old daughter was burned to death, and my wife was injured. All my possessions were burned to ashes, and also, after what had happened, on the walls, I found a note which said, "Let Jews die." If I were to go on any train and begin speaking and saying that the Jews are to be accused of all the faults in Russia, no one will contradict me.
And we would like to call that to your attention. It was the spark of anti-Semitism that kindled the beginning of Operation Exodus, the movement to bring Soviet Jews to Israel.
The most dangerous thing is now certainly the organized movement, the organized anti-Semitic movement. And it's much more dangerous.
Some people in Russia openly declare that their aim is the extermination of Jews, because the Pirate and other groups that side with Pirate, they openly declare that Jews are to blame for everything and they should be put to trial and punished accordingly.
There is no future for the Jews in the Soviet Union.
Though the challenge to all of us in Israel is great, is enormous, but still I think that all of us should go, all of the Jews who live in Russia.
They still cried, "Oh, dirty Jews, now we're with megaphones, next time we'll come with machine guns. Remember about us."
Hello, I'm Marvin Lender. It was the spark of anti-Semitism that kindled the beginning of Operation Exodus, the movement to bring Soviet Jews to Israel. Recently, the United Jewish Appeal sent some of its leaders and filmmakers to the Soviet Union to search for the truth and bring back an update on the situation. They spoke candidly with people on the street, in their homes, in synagogues and restaurants. The people talked and we listened. This is their story.
Three people came to his home. They were wearing masks. It was during the night time, and then awakened them. After that, they beat them. They broke the hand of the men, and they forced them to give their money to them.
When we had our teachers' meeting, somebody wrote on their on the entrance door something offensive, referring to the Jews.
Normally, I was taken for Russian, but when my friends found out that I was Jewish, they beat me one day and broke my nose.
They were called, and some people told them that your daughter will not come home. And they demanded a ransom. And that was the exact amount of money which was paid to them for their house. They had to pay the money back to the people, and only after that their daughter was returned back to them.
And you?
Мы из Грузии.
They're from Georgia. From Tbilisi.
Я лично боюсь за своих детей.
She's afraid for her kids.
Боюсь погромов.
She's afraid of pogroms.
One boy from the different class, he beat me and nobody could not do something. My classmates stood around and saw how he beat me.
And they did nothing. They just stood and watched.
Yes, they were indifferent.
There are very many antisemites in the Soviet Union. Do you know about Pamit?
Yes.
Yes. It's terrible. It isn't simple antisemitism. It is government's antisemitism in Russia.
Как это было в прошлый раз, никаких дискуссий, громких громогласных нет, чему это не нужно. Так что вот.
На этот вопрос отвечаю.
На меня наплывает камера, и около меня были наши ребята. Я брал камеру и отталкивал это самое. На остановку троллейбусы и автобус.
If I were to go on any train in the suburb of Moscow or into any market, bus stop, and begin speaking and saying that the Jews are to be accused of all the faults in Russia, even if I were to exaggerate, no one will contradict me, but they will support me.
Что евреи виноваты во всех наших бедах.
Как я могу назвать себя антисемитом, если я люблю арабский народ?
How could I be anti-Semitic if I love Arabs? If we talk about Jews, we should talk about Judephobia. It's never been typical of Russian people.
That were organized by the Jews on our land.
Мы официально заявляем,
And we make the official declaration
что евреи несут
that the Jews are directly responsible
за геноцид русского народа.
For the genocide of the Russian people.
Так? Да, я тоже с этим согласна. Я не знаю, это специфика русского национального сознания. Вот даже такой подъем антисемитизма.
Antisemitism is on the rise in the Soviet Union. 5 years ago, no one would have said there is any anti-Semitism. Today there is.
Призывали всех прийти на масленичное гуляние. Вообще, когда они собираются большими толпами, они так это электризуют друг друга.
Не так быстро. Please.
Я сейчас.
Мы только 3 года назад переехали вот в эту квартиру. Мы жили...
Этим разгулом, как они говорят сейчас, антисемитизм стал активным.
Before, antisemitism was a passive thing. Today, it is active. Before, it was only a danger to your career. Today, it is a danger to your life.
Сейчас просто опасен для жизни.
Could you tell us the circumstances?
On the night of March 31st, some unknown people, I am sure they were anti-Semite, set my flat afire. And in this fire, my 33-year-old daughter was burned to death, and my wife was injured. All my possessions were burned to ashes, and also, after what had happened, on the walls, I found a note which said, "Let Jews die."
There will be clauses against racial discrimination, inciting racial hatred, and I'm more concerned not with these things happening, because you can't prevent them from happening, but I'm more concerned with the follow-up, with what happens next.
О, давайте я еще раз прочту. Все, он пришел? Гриндорф Борис. Бурфинкельхая. Туда же, Ташкент. Бараш Баш Ленина. Айрапетян Тауба.
For all these reasons and many more, Russian Jews are very eager to use any opportunity to leave this country. And if until a year or two ago, many Russian Jews were not contemplating this possibility, today more are, because of the fact that there is greater and growing instability in the country. And because of this instability, not only Russian Jews are leaving the Soviet Union, the Germans are leaving, the Armenians are leaving, the Tatars are leaving, the Ukrainians are leaving, Russians are leaving. I once spoke to a member of Parliament. I asked him why they were so anti-Israeli, why are they against immigration? He said, nonsense, we're not against immigration, and if we had an Israel to which we could go, would we not leave the Union? But where are we to go?
The Jews, however, do have a place to go. Having been in the Soviet Union several times, I know how urgent it is that as many Jews as possible get to Israel quickly to start new lives in freedom and dignity. Despite the terrors of anti-Semitism, Soviet Jews are determined to revive Jewish learning and the Hebrew language after decades of imposed cultural denial. While so many wait for immigration visas, Israeli teachers from the Jewish Agency help prepare them for their new careers and the challenges ahead. The American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee works to strengthen the communal and cultural life of those who remain. But we know that ultimately the security of over 2 million Soviet Jews can only be ensured with their safe passage to Israel. Until then, every Jew in the Soviet Union is under the shadow of the horrors of the past.